Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to another in the series of classes on the 26 divine qualities from the Bhagavad Gita. This is the fourth class in our series. For those of you who have not been with us in the earlier classes, I strongly suggest at least listening to the very first class, since there are detailed instructions on how to do a simple form of meditation. We always begin each class with 5 minutes of meditation, and I encourage all of you to take 10 minutes to 15 minutes maximum in the morning and in the evening to sit quietly and go through this very simple process. It gives you more energy for the day, and when you come home at night, it helps relax you after the day at work or at school. So now let us begin this class with a short 5-minute meditation. I'd like you all to sit comfortably, feet on the floor or cross-legged, doesn't matter, just be very comfortable. Keep your spine straight but not rigid, and your head and neck in alignment with your spine. Again, just sitting easily erect, not stiff. Put your hands in your lap, right hand over the left, palms up, in a very, very relaxed way. I will close the eyes and put the attention very gently on the breathing. Just be aware of the gentle inflow and outflow of air. Don't alter your breathing. Any thoughts, noises, sensations, simply don't pay attention to them. Let them come and go. When you could put your attention back on the breathing, then bring it back gently, not forced, not heavy concentration. Let us begin. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Open the eyes slowly. Again, for those of you who are not in previous classes, we rub the hands together after meditation simply to generate friction. And then when the palms of the hands are warm, we just place the heels of the hand gently, gently over the eyes. It's like a warm compress on the eyes. It relaxes the eyes and the muscles in the eyes. And it's very comforting and comfortable. I hope you found that very easy. If it's not easy, you're forcing something. And we don't want to force in meditation. Correct meditation is an absence of effort. When I say absence of effort, I mean we're gently moving our attention to the breathing, just observing the inflow and the outflow of air innocently, without changing any breathing patterns or doing any manipulations of the breath. And thoughts will come and go. That's part of meditation. You will hear outer sounds. You'll hear people talking, cars on the street, dog barking, birds tweeting. Just like a thought. Just don't pay attention. They're natural and normal. Simply, gently bring the attention back to the breathing. And as we said before, you can time your meditation with some sort of a little timer, but make sure it doesn't ding loudly. That would be very jarring. If it has something has to ding, put a pillow over it so it doesn't shock you. If you can just kind of peek out at a clock and notice your time, that's fine too. Probably that's the best since it's not going to be jarring, but whatever. It's just comfortable, gentle, relaxing, revitalization of body, mind, senses. Okay? So, the next quality that we are going to discuss is compassion for all beings, Daya. Compassion toward all beings is necessary for the realization of God or our inner nature, because God is overflowing with this quality. Compassion is simply another form or expression of love. It is an empathetic, loving response to others who are in need or who are in difficulty or hurting. Those with a tender heart can put themselves in a place of others. In other words, we can empathize with others. We can feel their pain, feel their suffering. And if there's some way that we can try and alleviate it, we should do so. But again, be careful. Make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that you are using resources that you have available. Don't try to do things that could possibly damage you or the others. And it's not compassion for just people. Any creature of God, animal, vegetable, mineral, human, all life is sacred. All life is divine. We should treat it with respect and honor, with compassion, help where we can, and if we cannot, simply don't get in the way. By Daya, the law of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and the stern exactions of the law of karma are modified. So we're not talking the literal eye for an eye or good and bad karma. This is something which smooths off those rough edges. it softens them through the feeling of love and empathy, understanding, feeling the suffering of others. These harsher characteristics, though they do exist, are modified, they're softened. And when we do that for others, that compassion also lightens our own heart, our own inner feelings. It cleans us up inside. It's like a garden hose. When water goes through the hose to water a dry plant or give water to a thirsty person or animal, it first must clean out the inside of the hose before it gets to the end. So by exhibiting compassion outwardly, we're cleaning up our own inside as a byproduct of those compassionate thoughts and actions. If the Lord did not show us mercy and give us special forgiveness to his erring children, we would suffer indefinitely, life after weary life. This is important. Mercy and compassion are two sides of the same coin. Forgiveness is an act of compassion. And if God in its infinite mercy and compassion can forgive us and still shine its grace upon us after we have done so many silly and sometimes stupid and wrong things, if God can do that for us, cannot we show forgiveness? Cannot we show mercy and compassion toward others? For a small animal, even for a plant. When plants are thirsty, when they need water, if you have the right hearing, you can hear them cry out. You can hear even a plant call for attention. It's a matter of awareness. Expand your awareness, and all these things become within your sphere of understanding. Meditation, spiritual practices, and the conscious living of these qualities do just that. They expand our awareness. They sharpen our focus. They soften our heart. Compassion for the suffering of others, man, animal, or even plant, is one of the surest ways to purify the heart and to gain the divine vision within us. It is a cleansing action. In addition, when we do a good deed for the sake of just the good deed, and not to show off or get special attention or see what a great person and compassionate person I am, no, then the good deed is wasted. Compassion does not even know itself. Good deeds do not know themselves. They spontaneously flow from the gracious and loving heart, from the inside to the outside, without any thought of getting something back or of, isn't this a good thing? It never happens. It's spontaneous. These are the acts of a pure heart, a compassionate heart. Pay attention. Because when you show compassion, compassion will be shown to you. When you help the suffering of others, somewhere, sometime, when you're suffering, someone will come to your aid, guaranteed. Non-covetousness, or absence of greed. Now, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that Sanskrit word. Well, it's alovutram, I guess. For those of you who know Sanskrit, please forgive me. Some of the words I know, some I butcher terribly, and I apologize for that. So non-covetousness or absence of greed, of hoarding, qualities possessed by one who has mastered his senses and hence harbors no desire for the accumulation of material objects or sense pleasures. Greed is grasping. It's almost like a disease. Greed and the attachment of desires to objects, to the senses, to things, is like a disease. It can never be cured, though, through simply the outer manifestation or outer action. We must strengthen ourselves from the inside in order to master ourselves first. When we can master ourselves inside, our mind, our emotions, then it's much easier for us to master the senses and the desires that come from the attachment to the objects of the senses. Absence of greed and envy are possessed by a person of internal strength, knowing that he or she can accomplish anything through their own efforts and the grace of God. The grace of God is that word again, compassion of the divine, that supports us when we are doing our best to be the kind of person that we can be through these qualities. And it takes strength. It's easy to give in to greed, to grasping. It comes through fear, fear of loss, fear of not getting as much as somebody else, fear of somebody having more than we do in any way. That is a terrible weakness, and it is like a thirst that can never, ever be satisfied. Rid ourselves of this possessiveness, whether it be for people, places, things, thoughts, emotions. Again, allow things to flow through our life easily, without grasping, without manipulation. Use what is there when it is needed. And when it is not needed any longer, allow it to leave as it came. The obsession of attachment, of greed, of possessing is another disease that can never, ever be cured simply by thinking about it. We must gain inner strength and take direct action. When these thoughts arise, recognize them. This comes from awareness, greater expanded awareness. We feel that ugly green head coming up, like jealousy, for example. That is trying to possess another. We own them. They're our husband, our wife, our boyfriend, girlfriend, child, whatever. We treat others like possessions. And truly, we can never possess anyone, because if we try to possess someone, sure enough, we will be disappointed. Sure enough, we will suffer. And the terrible thing is we put the suffering on the other person, when in fact it's created by ourselves and can only be stopped by ourselves. Let go. Do not try to possess anything. Love unconditionally. Love without being possessive from fear or weakness, but from inner strength. Be stable in yourself. Be strong within yourself. And there is no need to possess anyone or anything outside of ourselves. This person does not desire the things of others, nor envies those who have more. This is simply one of the characteristics of a person who is not greedy, not possessive. He harbors no ill will toward those who have been successful through unlawful or unethical means, knowing that God will balance the scales. again, this is a very important point. When we look at some people, we say, oh my goodness, they're rich, but they did it by stealing or manipulating the stock market or manipulating people or doing bad or unethical things. So we feel that you're terrible. You should be punished. What gives us the right to judge others? As I said in an earlier class, let he who is without fault cast the first stone. It is not up to us to judge who is ethical, who is unethical, based on what they have accumulated. If they have more things, more money than we, so what? At the end of the day, this all goes away. We can't take anything with us when we die. So why try and accumulate that which was never ours to begin with? We should have that unerring understanding and knowing, not a belief, but knowing that God ultimately balances all scales. It may not be on our time schedule, of course not, but I guarantee you, there's a saying, the wheels of the gods grind slow, but they grind exceedingly fine. In other words, it might take a while, but guaranteed, things that go around come around, and to a very precise level. So, absence of greed, absence of covetousness, not desiring to possess or be possessed by, flowing with life, not against it, allowing things to be there as they are needed and leave when it is their time to leave. That's everything. People, money, possessions, even things like my dear little doggy, who I love very much. At some point, he's going to go on to his next step on the journey. Yes, I'll miss him, but I will simply be thankful that he and I were good friends for many years and enjoyed each other's company and had a lot of fun. Those are the things that I'll remember. Not any form of loss, but all that I had gained. This can be done for anyone or anything. It's up to us. We govern our own thoughts and emotion. No one does anything to us. We do it to ourselves. Remember that. Forget this victim mentality. Okay? Be courageous by letting go of things, by not being greedy, by not harboring ill will, by not envying or trying to possess. In this way, we live a life in freedom, not a life of bondage, suffering, and pain. The next in our divine qualities is gentleness, mardavam. Gentleness is characterized by spiritual patience. I'm not even sure I would put the word spiritual in front. Quite honestly, it's very difficult for me to differentiate between what is spiritual and what is not spiritual, because I believe everything in life is in point of fact spiritual. But patience, gentleness is a softness of heart, an internal love, compassion, kindness. All men or women who are attuned to the divine are spontaneously kind and forbearing. Forbearing means that we can put up with a lot. That's patience. Forbearing is patience. This becomes more spontaneous as we expand our own consciousness, as we purify our own heart. In the meantime, we must live consciously. Consciously try and live these qualities, because over time, as we repeat them over and over in our lives, they become the new habit. They become automatic. They become spontaneous. And as a result of that, these other qualities are simply woven in spontaneously and easily without effort. They are all brothers, sisters, and cousins. When one is done well, the others tag along to a great degree. A gentle person attracts friends on earth, and also, more importantly, attracts the Lord, the friend of all friends. A gentle person, people want to be around. Even small animals, if you're gentle, will spontaneously come to you because they can feel that gentleness. Little children also can feel that gentleness because they have not been overwhelmed by all the shoulds, oughts, do's, and don'ts that they will eventually get in life. A gentle person attracts goodness within their life, just like a beautiful flower with its fragrance, not even knowing that it has fragrance, attracts the honeybees. A gentle person emanates or exudes a vibration or subtle scent, smell if you like, that is pleasing to all. A spiritually patient man does not feel ill will toward anyone, even the lost, even the evil or bad, as some might define that. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Patience and compassion, gentleness, all these going together where we do not judge, meaning that we do not feel ill will toward anyone. People may come through our life that are very disturbing, very upsetting, hurtful even. And rather than to judge, or rather than to feel ill will, absent yourself from their presence. Simply go somewhere else. It is not necessary to get angry or feel ill will towards someone who's doing something that we, in our minds, call evil or bad or a sin or who knows whatever. Those are all judgments of our mind based on something that was told to us that we accepted as part of our reality. It doesn't mean that it's real. It's simply something we have accepted and we project it onto others. Isn't that interesting? There is no absolutes of good and evil. It depends on what you were taught, where you live, what your culture is, what environment you're in, what people you're around, what input that you get. All of these things make impressions within our mind and emotions. Often we feel that, oh, this is absolutely right, or you must believe this way or do things this way. Why? Just because you do? Just because you believe that way? Just because you do things this way? So be patient with others. Now, sometimes maybe yours might be a more efficient and better way, but being upset with others because they're not as quick on the uptake as you are, or not quite as fast, or maybe as smart, compassion, patience. Guide them through compassion and love and patience. Not only will it help them, but more, it will help you. Gentleness is not weakness, but requires great internal strength. Being established in compassion and love for all creatures. This takes great strength. People who are weak inside, not physically, but inside weak, they try and either boast or command over others. Because of their weakness, they're trying to push themselves up by pushing others down. This is not gentleness. This is a great weakness. It doesn't, anyone can speak ill of someone, but how much better it is to give a kind word, to be gentle and compassionate rather than harsh and overbearing and angry because the world didn't give you what you want, or people aren't doing things the way you want or think they should be done. Be aware of these things. Be aware of these things because, again, that gentleness, that strength inside gives us an unshakable foundation from which we can scale any mountain, cross any sea, conquer any circumstance. It's done through gentleness, but persistence, and that internal strength, which, when established, can never be broken. A person is naturally kind and forbearing, seeking the goodwill for all. This person, a gentle person, is naturally kind, naturally patient, seeking goodwill for all. These are ideals. We don't expect overnight for us to have the full blossom of all of these divine qualities, but practice consciously in our life. Try to be compassionate, even if you have to think about it. Some poor little animal is hungry. Put yourself in that poor little animal's place. Can we give them a little drink of water, a crust of bread? Can we water a plant when it's drooping? Be aware, be compassionate, and the universe, God, will be compassionate toward you. Humility. Breathe. Humility is the power to feel shame at any wrongdoing and to be willing to correct oneself. Humility is kind of another way of saying humble, but not in an abject groveling way. No. Humility is a power to have a conscience, to feel shame if we know inside that we have done something wrong, that we know was right inside, but we did something wrong. Even if we have done something wrong, be aware of it, correct it. Don't beat ourselves up. Try to do better the next time. Being smug in one's achievements, a man is immodest or egotistical and develops a superiority complex. How many people do you know who have got lots of book learning or lots of money or very talented in certain areas or have beautiful clothing, and they show them off with this smug attitude of achievement? And this superiority complex can take form in any of these ways. and blinds us to the truth, blinds us to reality, blinds us to God. God creates all. Is God smug in its achievements? Does God have a superiority complex? No. God is gentle, forbearing, infinitely compassionate, silent, but yet supporting all things. Let us be like that. Regardless of your intelligence or wealth or clothing, all of these things are fine. But don't be smug about it. Don't be egotistical about it. It's fine to have anything, but it's just a thing. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's money, whether it's clothing, cars, possessions, doesn't matter. All of these things are simply passing through. Now, here's another point which is really dangerous. And we're going to talk about spiritual pride. Devotees who exaggerate their spiritual attainments desist from their deep search for self-realization. How many people do we know who wear fancy religious garb or, big lots of flowers and chains and, turbans and whatnot, putting on a huge show? I'm sure that each of us has seen this. Now, there may be a time and a place in a festival or gathering, something of this nature, for certain dress up to happen. But let us not identify with the dress up. Remember, it is only a mask that we have temporarily put on, and that later another mask we can put on. But these masks are not our true self. Our true self has no care for spiritual attainments, powers, being brilliant in the scriptures, and being able to quote slokas in your sleep or spiritual verses. A person of true self-realization is humble. They don't exaggerate anything. There's a little phrase that I heard once that I absolutely love. A man was talking to a person who was said to be a highly enlightened being. And the person asked this highly enlightened person, how does it feel to be enlightened? How does it feel to finally be rid of the chains that bind us to this world and bind our thinking and our hearts? How does that feel? And this person kind of looks around and says, well, before I was enlightened, I chopped wood and I carried water. After I became enlightened, I chopped wood and I carried water. So self-realization is not a big deal. It's simply a recognizing or recognizing or a realization of what is already there. We're not gaining anything. It's not like grabbing a brass ring on a merry-go-round, right? It's something that we already are. We're just uncovering it from all the nonsense that we buried it in since our birth and possibly beyond. We don't have to exaggerate anything. It's nothing special other than we're happy. And those around us are happy because we radiate that joy and happiness. Those who try to make a big deal out of their spiritual knowledge or their background or position They are as deluded as the banker who accumulates money in the bank. It is a delusion. It's a trap. Spiritual pride is probably the worst thing to get rid of if it grabs a hold of us. Remember that. There is no such thing as pride in spiritual accomplishment, because there is no such thing as spiritual accomplishment. We are never gaining anything. We're simply uncovering what we already are. A humble seeker wins the attention of the shy and modest. Almighty God. No need to talk about that anymore. Brazen behavior attracts the wrong companions who satisfy their desires and then forsake the one they have wrongly used. People who show off attract the wrong kind of people. Other people who want to show off, or like leeches, they want to suck the life force from this person. Once the leeches have satisfied by taking all the blood, sustenance, or energy from their prey, the person who is egotistical of brazen behavior, they forsake them and toss them away like an empty husk that has been drained of life. Be humble. Humility. Be kind. None of it's a big deal. Do good for the sake of doing good. Expect nothing in return. You should not even know when you're doing anything good, because good spontaneously should flow from you, like fragrance flows from a flower. A truly good person has no idea that they are good. Purity, modesty, these things again are characteristics of humility. Humility, modesty, these things again are like an internal light that shine forth and attracts the right kind of things to our life and our environment, naturally and spontaneously. Okay, my dear friends, I think that should be enough for the day. I hope that there may have been something here that you can use in your life to help along the path, and also share with others, because that also begins to ingrain it more within us. It's an interesting thing, since I've been a teacher most of my life in one form or another, I always learned more than my students did. Because as I had to prepare my classes, or as I had to learn something in great detail to be able to talk to someone about it, whether it be systems analysis or programming or teaching people to swim or what have you, doesn't matter. I had to get much better at it before I could teach it. So the person who shares, not teaches, but shares what they have, enhances their own understanding and enhances their own life. So that, my dear friends, will be all for the day. I hope you all have a very good day, evening, wherever it is. Be kind to each other, and may God bless you all.